Welcome to LSC. It's Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Nate Matteson. Nate is a baseball player over at Kickingham High School, just graduated, going to Old Dominion. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But you started playing sports at a young age, like most of the kids. But baseball wasn't the first thing you started playing, because you're a big kid, so they probably got you on the football field, right?
Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about that, what position and some of the coaches you had playing football.
I actually started out playing football at Fox Hill, probably Mighty Mines, I believe, so probably 6, 7 years old.
Right.
Clarkson at Asbury and all that, and Tom Moore and Coach Stein, actually, he passed away a couple years ago. But those two were really my main coaches, and I still actually talk to Coach Tom. My mom actually dates him.
What positions did you play?
I was running back and actually a safety. So
running back and safety, because you're a big kid, I figured you'd be on the line. And I've got guys that's going on to at college at the running back position, played tackle. So at that age, so just to get to play. But you also played basketball.
Yes, sir.
And that also on Fox Hill?
Yes.
And what position are you there?
I honestly do not remember.
That wasn't one of your...
Basketball wasn't my strong point.
Okay, that wasn't your strong suit. Okay. But then you started baseball, you started with T-ball?
Yes, sir. I started probably when I was 4 or 5, real early, down at Phoebus Little League.
Okay.
And started there 2 years, and 2 years of machine pitch, and then up to B League. And I actually didn't start, actually liking the game until B League.
Okay. Was you always a pitcher, or did you play other positions? Because I also know you play first base, but pitching is what you got recruited at. So was you always a pitcher, or?
Well, actually, I played with Brian Athey, and Donald Athey's dad. He graduated from Kickingham probably my freshman year, I believe. And he was, we need another pitcher on our Little League team. And he was like, Nate, can you pitch? And I was like, sure. So he started.
haven't failed at it yet, right?
Yeah, so he was like, I got out of the mound and I did well at it. And that was that. And I just kept pitching. Okay,
now, but you had some good coaches, especially in high school.
Oh, yeah.
That were pitching coaches. And then, of course, you work over with Wayne Gomes, who's also a pitcher. So did they help you develop your different pitches? I mean, because you watch these kids throwing, and I'm watching the College World Series right now, and these guys throwing these splitters and these, it looks like it's falling off a table. I mean, this really must take a lot of concentration and practice on your part.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Pitching is no joke. You have to go out there and practice it every day. And, I had Coach Wheeler and Coach Oxenfeld. And also I went over to camp at ODU this past winter and with Coach Levine. And they all, it's fixing mechanics, finding a release point and everything like that. And that's just what makes you a better pitcher. It's not about how big you are or, look at Tim Linscomb. He's 5 foot something and throwing 93. Okay.
Well, what kind of influence did Wayne Gomes have?
Wayne's always been there for me. I was at his camp, working his camp, and he was like, Nate's near and dear to my heart just because I'm going to ODU. That's his alma mater.
Right.
So he's always, he always helps me whenever I need it, and he's a great guy.
Well, I don't know if he told you, but he just about went down to the shipyard.
Really?
He was not going to go to college.
I think I heard that.
Yeah, and then he said, well, I'll try it. And then he ends up in the pros, so, but you had Austin Felt, who is also as a great baseball player and pitcher, and, of course, Wheeler, Coach Wheeler. He was legendary at Kickingham High School as a pitcher. So this has got to help your confidence that you've got guys that really excelled at your position. That's got to help you mentally.
Oh yeah, they always, Coach Wheeler especially, he preached, you got to be ready at any time. You got to go out there and you got to fight. You got to be a bulldog, and if you're not, you're going to get eaten alive.
Right.
And that's what he preached. And if you take that into the game with you, you're going to succeed.
All right. Well, did you select your own pitches? Were the pitches called from for the coaches or the catcher? How did you select the pitches?
I knew what I wanted to throw. In the beginning, like my freshman and sophomore year, we were calling pitches, mixing it up and stuff like that. But as my junior and senior year came along, I started calling my own pitches just because
Right.
I knew what I could get batters out with at that point.
Okay. Now, did you know, because you faced these guys before, what their weaknesses were, where their strong points were, so you knew how to pitch around their hitting zone, so to speak?
I knew in the beginning of the season just because we were playing the PD teams then,
Right.
but like the teams like, Western Branch and Oscar Smith and Grassfield that we ended up playing this year because the conference changed, that was, it was hard to tell then.
Right. Talk a little bit about conference change, because you went through the Peninsula District for 3 years, and then all of a sudden you're in the Monitor Merrimack Conference.
Yeah, I don't like it that much. It's cool playing the other teams across the water and stuff like that, but it kind of takes away the rivalry
Right.
we had. That it's not as fun as it used to be. It's not.
Well,
really high
see,
school
the only
baseball.
team that you've got in your conference is Bethel.
We have Woodside too.
Well,
but
but I'm talking in the Hampton system.
Oh, yeah.
So, because that's where you get a lot of the more crowds at the ball games.
Oh, yeah.
So your Phoebus game and your Hampton game, it really doesn't mean anything, does it?
Mm-mm.
And that's a shame. But you got a great honor. You got selected Player of the Year. Monitor my first year, so nobody else has done it before. So you kind of set the standard. How did you find out about that? And talk a little bit about how that made you feel.
I was actually eating melting pot with my girlfriend over at in the Newport News melting pot, and I got a text from my coach, and he was like, "Congrats, you made Player of the Year." And I stood up in the restaurant, and I was like, "Yes!" So it was,
Well,
it was
there
pretty
you go.
cool, yeah. So I got a good dinner and got some good news out of it.
Well, that was great. Now, this is done by the coaches. So you have impressed a lot of people, but you also impressed the coaches at Old Dominion, because Chris Fenwood, who is Hampton High School graduate, now over at Old Dominion as a head coach, he must have saw something in you that he liked. So when did he start recruiting you? How, were you a sophomore, junior, or what?
I believe it was my sophomore summer, because I actually took my first visit was with Old Dominion.
Okay.
And then it just kind of, it grew from there. And I kind of let it play out, let it go on for a little while. And then I was finally, I wanted to make my decision. ODU was where I wanted to go.
Oh, did you travel to any other schools? I know you got some other letters. With anybody else, maybe a little bit of interest there, or?
Yeah, I got some other schools. I got another scholarship from Liberty, and then Radford was going to offer too. And I also got some other letters from like South Carolina, University of Virginia, stuff like that.
Right.
But I didn't really want to go to I wanted to go to ODU. I wanted to go to a mid-major school so I can possibly start, get a lot of innings right away.
Old Dominion also being close at home. Parents, it just doesn't take a lot. You got to fight the tunnel traffic, but outside of that, was that maybe part of the decision too, closer to home?
Yeah, it didn't really like hit me until I actually committed to ODU that I was so close to home. But it wasn't that big of a factor when making my decision.
Right.
So.
But the coaches evidently made a big. Coach Fenwood is, of course, the head coach. Who's your pitching coach over there?
Coach Levine.
Okay, now he evidently made an impression on you.
Oh yeah.
Okay, talk a little bit about what you got from your meeting with him.
He is one of the coaches that definitely knows what he's talking about. Him and Coach Wheeler both, them two, they're two of the best pitching coaches I've ever seen or heard of.
Right.
I've gotten a lot out of Coach Levine just in the 5 days that I was at their camp. I fixed my mechanics like that, and it was.
Okay, now when you talk about fixing your mechanics, not being a pitcher, I don't know exactly what you're talking about. So explain to me, is that the release point, the windup, what? What are we talking about?
Everything, basically. It's from, how far you step back when you first come from your windup, how far you stretch, when you're supposed to open up your hips, your release point, all that kind of stuff. It all makes a difference.
Do they film you and then look at it and show you where you're not releasing the ball in the right spot or something? How is that process done?
Some coaches do that. That's mostly in hitting though, but they do it in pitching too. But Coach Levine would just, he could tell what I was doing wrong. I was opening up my hips too early, and he was like, Nate, just keep your hips closed until you get close to the plate, and that'll be that. And it added like 3 miles to my 3 miles an hour to my fastball.
Well, how fast is your fastball right now?
I topped out at 88, but
88. So you're looking, after you get a little stronger and they've got the weight program and all this thing, you're looking in the low 90s anyway, somewhere.
Hopefully.
Talk about the influence of the Peninsula and the coaches and Wayne Gomes, and of course talk about working his camp.
Oh yeah, that was actually a lot of fun. It was a lot of younger kids, but it was once in a lifetime type of thing. There was a lot of cool little kids out there, good little ball players, and we just got out there and had fun. It was fun teaching them the game of baseball.
Right.
Camps are always it's meant for fun at that age. It's not meant to be seen by like college coaches or something like that.
But when I coach, if you're not having fun, then you're not. Why do it?
Yeah.
You got to enjoy it. You got to have a lot of fun doing it. The 757 has developed a lot of good athletes, and we're not only talking baseball, but football, basketball, track, the whole thing. And you've got coaches that have gone through this system, like Wheeler and Austin Felt and Coach Finwood. How does that make you feel when you see, man, I can plug into their knowledge?
It's definitely, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I can succeed more than where if I was, somewhere else. It's hard to put words to it when talking about that much talent that came through here. That I could be a part of, that I could. And
see, and pretty soon they're going to talk about your talent.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, puts a pretty big smile on my face when I hear, like there's at the wall at Kickotan is all the great top athletes that came through Kickotan. And, since I made Player of the Year, I get up on the wall, with Coach Wheeler and, Howard White that came through there and all these top talents that came through there, I get up on the wall with them. So it's a pretty good feeling.
Well, yeah, it's got to be. Of course, you also made all-conference, Monitor Merrimack, and playing these teams from the other side, first time you see them, of course, it's the same thing for them, the first time they get to see you. And Kickotan's always had a reputation of a good baseball.
Yes, sir.
So do you feel like you have maybe sometime a little advantage?
Not with the Southside team. Southside teams. Western Branch actually won the state championship this year. So and we almost beat them. We were up 3-1 in the top of the 8th, and we let it go. But it was definitely evenly matched. That's for sure. Well, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, that's good. What is in your repertoire throwing? What do you throw? I mean, your fastball, changeup, what else?
Fastball, curveball, changeup, and I had a little slider this year too.
Okay. See, then that'll develop, and that's the one I'm talking about. The slider looks like it's fall off. Tell you what, UVA is doing so good in its College World Series this year, and I just think it's awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking time coming in.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Nate Matteson. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Till next time.
Hi, I'm Nate Matteson, Kickotan High School Baseball, Old Dominion University signee. You're watching LSC, all sports, all the time.